see you dialed in.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, is that you, Anthony?
Got you, Anthony. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Anthony, can you hear me?
Responding.
Mr. Rossi, can you hear us?
I can see you, but I cannot hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just making sure.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay, thank you. All right, everybody, let's get this show on the
My
road.
apologies.
Call this meeting to order. Ms. Kelly, would you like to start us with the land acknowledgement?
I acknowledge with respect that we're in the Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bawating. Bawating is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Mr. Chair, if we could move on, I am looking for a motion for the minutes of August 7th.
Before we do that, I'll introduce the committee.
Sure.
To my left, we have Melinda McGregor. To my right, Frank Bruni. And on Zoom, we have Mr. Anthony Rossi. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting from somebody, please?
Fourth motion to approve.
From Melinda McGregor. All in favor? Motion is carried.
Who seconded?
Frank Bruni.
Frank? Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I've been advised that Member Rossi has disclosed a pecuniary interest in number 2, tab 2 on our agenda, that being application A2324, Malcap Investments, 566 Second Line East. He is a client of Mr. Rossi. Mr. Rossi will not participate in the deliberations on that application. There's been no request for withdrawal or deferral. There's nothing on the agenda that can't be discussed. So matters to be considered, we'll move to tab 1. And that would be an application A2124. The application is from Frank Batonti and he's making his way to the podium. The subject property is 460 Moss Road. It's located on the east side of the east leg of Moss Road, north of Third Line West. The subject property is designated rural in the official plan in a zoned rural area. It is approximately 0.51 hectares in size. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended to reduce the required south side yard to facilitate the construction of an 8.53 meter by 10.97 meter detached garage, Specifically, section 8.5.2 of bylaw 2005-150 requires a minimum interior side yard of 5 meters. The applicant seeks to reduce the minimum south interior side yard to 1.82 meters for the proposed 8.53 meter by 10.97 meter garage only. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city website. No public input was received, and I don't believe there's anyone in the gallery other than Mr. Batonti to speak to the application. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division did not respond. Canada Post had no comment. Conservation Authority advised that any development will require a site plan review and a permit from the Conservation Authority. They have no concerns with the request. Engineering and Construction, Fire Services, and Legal Department had no comment. Planning Division, PUC Electric, and Public Utilities Water had no concerns or objections. Planning has no objection. This property is in an area with a mix of rural area and R1 estate lots. The request to locate the garage to 1.82 meters is in line with what would be permitted in the property across the street from this one at 1.2 meters. It is not foreseen that it would have a negative impact on the adjoining lot. There are other air garages with a reduced setback in the neighborhood. To mitigate some of the effect from the reduced setback, the property has a tree line on the lot line border that will offset the impact of this structure. Staff comments and recommendations, there's been no objections to the request and there's no evidence of any negative impact being created. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Good afternoon, Mr. Batonti.
Good afternoon.
Do you have any questions or comments for the committee?
No questions.
All right. Do we have any questions or comments from the committee to Mr. Batonti?
Done,
All
Chair.
right. Oh, Anthony, you're all good?
Y'all good? Done.
All right, thank you. Can I have a motion in favor of the application? Perfect. Application in favor by member Bruni. Can I have a second for that motion, please?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. McGregor. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you.
All motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Batonti. You may leave.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
We'll move to tab 2 on your agenda and Mr. Rossi, you won't be able to participate in this application. And Trevor Simpson is making his way to the podium as agent on the application. It's application A2324. It's Melcap Investments Limited is the owner of Civic number 566 Second Line East. It is located on the north side of Second Line East, approximately 260 meters west of the Second Line East and Great Northern Road intersection. The subject property is designated industrial in the official plan and is zoned M2 medium industrial. Relief is requested from the provisions of bylaw 2005-150 as amended by including section 14.2.1 permitted uses, the distribution for gas and welding equipment and office use, specifically a private vocational school, to legitimize these additional uses that have been in operation from this site for many years. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and posting on the city website, and no public input was received. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division had no objections. They do have comments, and I'll read them shortly. Engineering, Fire Services, and Legal Department had no comment. Planning Division had no objections. PUC Distribution for Electric and Public Utilities for Water had no concerns. The Building Division records show that the last known use of this building was a warehouse with a subsidiary use of a showroom and offices, which may or may not align with the current use. It is our recommendation, that being building, that any approval be conditional on the applicant or owner undertaking a review of the current and intended use of this building with Building Division staff to ensure compliance. The applicant will require a change of use permit. Planning staff has no objection regarding the proposed application. The proposal adheres to the criteria of the 4 tests of a minor variance. The primary functions of the existing lot are bulk storage and distribution and medium manufacturing, specifically fabrication of metal products, which includes welding. These uses are permitted in the medium industrial zone. Therefore, the technical training facility for welding is minor in nature and planning staff does not anticipate any adverse effects. Staff comments and recommendations. There's been no objections to the request, no evidence of any impact if approved. Recommended conditions of any approval are that the applicant owner obtain a change of use permit. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair. And again, it's Mr. Simpson at the podium.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Simpson.
Good afternoon.
Do you have any comments for us on the committee?
No.
Committee members, do you have any questions of Mr. Simpson? None?
Just that, you guys are aware of the change of use permit and you're through.
Yes, I'll undertake to.
Okay.
Do that.
We have an undertaking from Mr. Simpson to ensure the change of use permit is applied for, should that be needed. All right, could we have a motion either in favor or against the motion, please? Or the application, please?
I'll put forth a motion for approval of the application. It looks like what's gonna be happening at the training facility is similar to what's been done in the past, so I'd put approval through with the condition.
Okay, could we have a second for that motion, please? Seconded by Frank Bruni. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
And tab 3, and if I could just remind everyone to bring the microphone close to speak so that live stream can pick us up. Okay, so tab 3 on the microphone is application B1424. It's application 786211 Ontario Limited and the estate of Frank Mario Adamo, and Mark Lepore is solicitor for the applicant and has made his way to the podium. The property is civic number 149 Trunk Road. It is located on the southeasterly side of Trunk Road, approximately 55 meters east of the Trunk Road and Lake Street intersection. The subject property is designated commercial in the official plan and is zoned C4 general commercial. The applicant is seeking the committee's consent to sever and convey an easement over the easterly 3.3528 meters by 45.72 meters, being the existing driveway, in favor of the easterly abutting property being civic number 151 Trunk Road. The intent of the application is also to acknowledge the 0.2-inch encroachment at the rear of the existing building at 151 Trunk Road onto the subject property, and to provide continued access egress over the existing driveway in favor of civic number 151 Trunk Road. As an explanation to that, a further explanation, the encroachment is not conveying that property, it's just acknowledging that it exists, and it is a record of acknowledgement that the building does encroach slightly at the rear corner. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city's website. No public input has been received to date. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies for their review. Building Division did not respond. Conservation Authority, Engineering and Construction and Fire Services had no comments or concerns. Legal Department had no comments or concerns. Planning Division, PUC Electric, and PUC Water had no concerns or objections, and Public Works had no comments or concerns. Staff comments and recommendations were there's no evidence of opposition to the request. Recommended conditions of any approval are payment of transfer review fee, provide a transfer deed of land for certificate of official, provide reference plan, provide PIN abstract and PIN map, and payment of taxes. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Mr. Lepore.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. There's one hopefully minor correction. The encroachment, it's hard to tell on the sketch, but it's 0.2 feet, not 0.2 inches.
Oh,
Okay.
I will make that.
Ultimately, the encroachment and the driveway have been in place since at least 1987 when this survey was done. Nothing's changing in terms of what the use is. It's a matter of regularizing the access to the rear of 151 Trunk Road. That driveway serves as the only access to the rear of that property.
Okay. Note that for the record. Ms. Kelly doing that. Besides that, do you have any comments for the committee, Mr. Lepore?
None, Mr. Chair, unless there are any questions for me.
Alrighty, any questions from the committee to Mr. Lepore?
I have no
Fine.
questions.
No questions.
I just
Yes.
have a quick question. If you're severing, is there a reason why you prefer to have the encroachment of 2 feet or just adjust the length? Was there a rationale or?
Yes, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Bruni, we're not severing the strip of land. We're asking for consent for the easement. So the strip is going to remain with the 149 Trunk Road parcel, but the application's asking for consent to the easement, which allows the owner and invitees of 151 Trunk to use that piece of property to traverse and access the rear of the property, like a right of way.
So if I might, it's simply to provide an easement. There's no ownership going from one property owner to the other. It's retained ownership by the owners of 149. Just the owners or subsequent owners of 151 will have a continued right over that driveway.
Okay. No, what threw me off, I guess, was it said to sever and convey an easement. So it's technically it's to convey the easement or?
An easement, yeah.
Okay.
Good?
Yep. thank you.
Good. All right. Can I have a motion for or against the application, please?
I'll put forward a motion to accept based on the recommendations made.
And a second to that motion, please.
Second that.
Seconded by Ms. McGregor. All in favor?
In favor.
All in favor. Thank you. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Lepore. Have an excellent day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You too.
No problem at all.
Okay, so moving on to tab 4 and tab 5, I will give a brief explanation of what's happening because they're related, and then I will require a motion for each, and I'll read the specific conditions for each. The properties involved are 255 East Balfour Street and 277 East Balfour Street. When the application was filed, the properties were owned by Daniel Fremlin Holdings, Inc. They've since been sold to 1,009416666 Ontario Inc., being a division of Winmar. And I had to take the application in the ownership name at the time, but we are acknowledging that the Ontario Company Limited owns the property now. The consent can continue to proceed. So what's happening is we created the lot at 255 East Balfour some time ago. This application is asking to take a small strip of that property, 4.75 meters for the whole length of the property, and add it to 277 East Balfour, which was the retained land from the previous application. Once that's completed in a stipulated consent, which means it has to attach to that property, 277 East Balfour will exercise their right which is in consent application B1824, to create a new lot, being 16.58 feet of frontage and for the length of the previous lot. So in the end of the day, it's just adding one parcel, part of a parcel, to the rest and creating a new parcel. At the end of the day, we'll have one additional parcel. So if we look at 255 East Balfour, the consent request is to convey 4.75 meters by 51.37 meters, or 0.024 hectares. The intent of the application is to increase the land holding at civic number 277 East Balfour Street to assist in new lot creation as proposed in application B1824. The application was circulated by mail, by posting a sign on site and posting on the city's website. And I haven't received any public input, and obviously there's no one in the gallery other than Mr. Fremlin with an interest in the application. The application was circulated to Building Division, who did not respond. Conservation Authority had no concerns, but a site plan review will be required and may require a permit from the Conservation Authority. Now, they've commented that on 255 East Balfour, but they commented the same comment on 277. I don't believe the permit review will be required on 255 East Balfour, since it's just conveying a strip of property to add to the other. So that's my explanation there. Engineering, construction, fire services, and legal department had no comment. Planning division had no objections, and they have a further comment, and I will read that. PUC Electric, PUC Water had no response. Public Works had no comments or concerns. Planning staff noted that the retained lands will continue to have sufficient frontage and lot area as specified in the gentle density residential zone that's currently on the property. There's been no evidence presented to me that indicates there's any opposition to the request. Recommended conditions of any approval are provide a transfer review fee, provide a transfer deed of land for certificate, noting that sections 53 and 5 of the Planning Act as amended apply, and that would make it a stipulated consent. Provide a reference plan, provide a current PIN abstract and PIN map, minor variance application approval if required. We know that won't be required, but that's customary in case something's been put on the lot since I got the application. Discharge of charge of mortgage, partial discharge of charge of mortgage, and payment of taxes. And again, you'll note that I didn't recommend on there that there be a site plan review for the Conservation Authority. Moving to, so are you prepared to move a motion on that, or do you want to hear the next application first? Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that. Mr. Fremlin, if you could come up to the podium, please, in case the committee has questions for you. Thank you. Do you have any comments on this part on the tab 4 application, 255 East Balfour? Do you have any comment to us? Any comments or questions from the committee to Mr. Fremlin?
None.
You don't have any questions?
Okay, seeing none and hearing none, can I have a motion in favor or against the application, please?
I'll put forth a motion
In
in
favor?
favor with
Okay.
the conditions and the site, or you need the site plan. All right, okay.
I didn't recommend one. I mean, it's up to the committee if they want to.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Can I have a second to that motion, please?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Mr. Bruni. All in favor?
In favor.
Motion is carried.
you.
Thank you.
So if you just want to wait there and we'll move to the next one. Application tab 5, application B1824, 100941166 Ontario Inc., formerly owned by Daniel Fremlin Holdings, being 277 East Balfour. It's located on the south side of East Balfour between Gooley Avenue and Wilding Avenue. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R2 gentle density residential zone. Subject to final consent of application B1724, the applicant is seeking the committee's consent to sever the westerly 16.58 meters by 51.37 meters fronting on East Balfour to facilitate the creation of a new residential lot, resulting in the lot configuration as follows. The severed part will be 16.58 meters by 51.374 meters and have an area of approximately 0.085 hectares. The retained land will be 44.538 meters frontage, irregular in shape, and have an area of approximately 0.91 hectares. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city website. No public input has been received. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies. Building Division did not respond. Conservation Authority advised that they have no concerns. A site plan review is required and possibly a permit from Conservation. Engineering Construction, I will read their comments. Fire Services, no comment. Legal Department, no comment. Planning Division, no objection, but further comment. PUC Distribution Electric and Water had no response and no comments from Public Works. Engineering staff advised that a lot grading and drainage plan must be completed by a lot grading professional to ensure that drainage is dealt with appropriately. Lot grading professionals must be a professional engineer, civil, architect, or Ontario land surveyor experienced in lot grading. As is common practice for all new urban residential subdivisions, the applicant must pay to the city a fee for the provision of trees. The fee is $500 per lot. A sanitary lateral is required for the proposed lot, and a culvert will be required if it does not already exist. A culvert permit will be required from the City Building Division with fees outlined in the user fee bylaw. Planning staff noted that the retained lands will continue to have sufficient frontage and lot area as specified in the gentle density residential zone. Staff comments and recommendations. No evidence of any opposition to the request. Recommended conditions of any approval are: provide a registered copy of the transfer of abutting property to the subject property as referred to in consent application B1724. Payment of 5% cash in lieu of parkland, payment of transfer review fee, provide a transfer deed of land for certificate of official, provide a lot grading and drainage plan completed by a lot grading professional for approval by the Director of Engineering or his designate, provide a reference plan, provide a $500 tree payment, provide a sanitary lateral for the proposed parcel, obtain a new culvert permit for the proposed parcel, provide a current PIN abstract and current PIN map, minor variance application approval if required, discharge of charge of mortgage, partial discharge of charge of mortgage, and payment of taxes. I'd just like to add something in those conditions. One of them I've recommended obtain a new culvert permit for the proposed parcel. I'd like to add to that prior to the issuance of a building permit. There's really no need to have the culvert permit to exercise the consent. And just in case the building permit is sometime after, maybe next spring, I don't know, the applicant isn't required to have a culvert permit in before the consent is finalized. So if I could just add prior to the issuance of a building permit in that condition. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Mr. Fremlin, before I open up to you, you understand what the engineering staff have advised and you have no problem with any of that?
Yeah, no, everything's fine. I hold a personal mortgage on that property. For the property, it's in my own personal name, like on that property. So I have to discharge that in order for this and put it back on then?
Yep, that's
fine.
part of, that's one of the
I'll
conditions.
just move the-
Well, your lawyers will help you out with that, okay? Do you have any questions or comments for us? No? Committee members, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Fremlin?
None, Chair.
None here. Okay, good. Can we have a motion either in favor or against the application, please? Somebody?
Forward a motion in favor of the application based on the staff comments and recommendations, plus Ms. Kelly had suggested to add.
The culvert permit being issued before the building permit's issued? Okay, fine. Can I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. McGregor. All in favor?
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Looks like we got one more for you, Mr. Fremlin. Okay.
So the final matter on our agenda, tab 6, is application B 2024. This one Daniel Fremlin Holdings still owns. The subject property is 215 Old Garden River Road. It is located on the easterly side of Old Garden River Road between Second Line East and Mill Creek Drive. It is designated residential in the official plan and is zoned R2 gentle density residential. The applicant is seeking the committee's consent to sever the property into 2 independent parcels described below, providing autonomous title to each semi-detached unit. Specifically, each parcel will be 9.144 meters by 40.8 meters in length and be approximately 0.037 hectares in area. Notice of public hearing was sent by personal mail to neighboring properties by posting a sign on site and by posting on the city's website. No public input was received on this application as of the time of writing this report. As part of the application review, this proposal was circulated to the following internal departments and external agencies. Building Division had no objections. Conservation Authority had no concerns. Engineering and Construction had a comment, and I'll read it in just a minute. Fire Services, no comments or concerns. Legal Department, no comment. Planning Division had no objection. PUC Electric said no concerns. However, separate electric services will be required and remain on their respective properties, or an easement will be required. PUC Water had no response. Public Works had no comments or concerns. Engineering staff advised that all requirements as outlined in the lot development and drainage agreements must be complied with, including but not limited to certification that services and rear yard drainage works have been installed per the approved drawings. Planning staff noted that the retained and severed portions will have sufficient frontage and continue to lawfully exist in accordance with section 4.14.10 of zoning bylaw 2005-150. There's no evidence of any opposition to the request. Recommended conditions of any approval are payment of cash in lieu of parkland, payment of transfer review fee, payment of transfer deed of land for certificate of official, provide a reference plan, provide a current PIN abstract and current PIN map, minor variance application if approved, if required, sorry. Discharge of charge of mortgage, partial discharge of charge of mortgage, payment of taxes, provide approval from the Director of Engineering and/or the Chief Building Official or their designates that all requirements as outlined in the lot development and drainage agreement are complied with to their satisfaction. And I just might explain what that agreement is. The applicant has developed the subject property into three
Three semis there.
independent townhouse semi-detached units. There's been the agreement entered into and to the satisfaction of the engineering department, planning department, building department over the entire property. And this comment refers to making sure that any conditions of that agreement as they relate to this particular site are met prior to final consent. And those are my submissions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Kelly. Mr. Fremlin, do you have any questions or comments for the committee? Okay, committee members, do you have any questions or comments to Mr. Fremlin?
None.
Sheldon, so 207 is the similar
Two
development?
River Road? Yeah, they're identical buildings, just separate.
Eventually, yeah. Eventually, they'll be back before us as well, but
Over those will probably be likely too.
Okay. Anything else?
11 as well?
Yeah.
All right. Can I have a motion in favor or against the application?
Look forward to a motion in favor of the application based on the staff comments and recommendations.
Thank you. Can I have a second for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Ms. McGregor. All in favor?
In favor.
All in favor, motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Fremlin.
thank you.
Have a good day.
I just want to mention that we do have a hearing now confirmed for September 19th. 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's a Thursday. And acknowledge that Melinda, Frank, and Anthony have confirmed their attendance, so we will have a quorum. And that you and Mr. Wayne Greco will be out of the country. Then we will have our next regular meeting on October 2nd. That's it.
All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.